wherever a group of people or an individual, sets himself or they set themselves as the center, the reference, the norm that controls everything else. It's a colonial situation.
Sure, okay.
It's a colonial situation.
Yeah. Kenzo, it's so great to meet you and so great to have you here at Regent this week. So I'm Jessa, I'm a theology student here at Regent. And first of all, I'd love just to hear a little bit about you and your journey into the world of theological education and church leadership.
Yeah, I'm from Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo in Africa. And I came to Canada for the first time in '83 to study theology in Regina.
Right.
And did my PhD at TEDS, Trinity in Deerfield, Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I have been teaching theology in North America, first at Ambrose University College in its first earlier rendition, Canadian Theological Seminary. And then Ambrose, I moved with the school when we moved in Calgary in 2005.
Okay.
And then 2007, I began to split my time between Canada and Congo and Africa in general.
I see.
And then 2009, I stepped down from my role at Ambrose to focus on Africa. And 2017, I came back.
Okay.
But meanwhile, I had been coming back for as a part-time visiting professor. I would come for a course here at Ambrose and a course in at ETech in Quebec.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what I had been doing. But in 2017, we moved to Quebec to serve as a district superintendent for the CNMA in Quebec.
Okay, and that's where you're based now, is that right?
That's where I'm based now, yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, it's such a privilege to have you here at Regent College this week, and I know you've been teaching a class on post-colonial theology, and I'm wondering if you could break that down for me a little bit.
Yeah.
First of all, what do we mean by post-colonial? And then what does it mean to do post-colonial theology?
In layman's term, post-colonial theology is the theology of those in the majority world who have or had been affected by colonialism. And I will be explaining a little bit colonialism. We can't define it just in a narrow way. It's a broader concept. So, as the term says, post. But here we have to be very careful because post-colonialism doesn't mean after the end of colonialism.
Okay.
Post-colonialism means, at least the way it's used in most or by most scholars, and the way I prefer to use it, is theology induced by. Theology provoked by, theology required by, caused by. So the colonial presence leads at least the colonized to think in a certain way, to feel in a certain way. So when you take all that experience to account and asking yourself, with this experience, what does it mean for me to be a Christian?
Yeah.
What does it mean? How do I hear? What do I hear from Scripture from that perspective? And in other words, it's quite a radical form of contextual theology.
I see. Okay.
But most of the time, contextual theology is involves someone in a position of authority, trying to adapt to someone in a lower position. But contextual theology, post-colonial theology is coming from the margins. It's coming from those who were affected as they reflect on their own experience, including the Christian experience.
Right.
So they reflect on that, and they go back to scripture, they go back to church tradition, but keeping in mind their own experience.
I see.
So that's in a nutshell what post-colonial theology is.
Okay, thank you. That's such a helpful orientation to the field. And why is post-colonial theology important for the whole church?
It's very important for two main reasons. First, it's the theology of the majority world.
Yeah.
Even where the word post-colonial or the adjective post-colonial is not used, the practice is very post-colonial.
Yeah.
It's the theology of the majority world. As the church is becoming more and more a non-Western reality, I mean, we need to pay attention to what is coming from the majority world.
Sure.
What are they saying? How are they reading scripture? How are they interpreting scripture? What is the take in terms of what is the essentials of the faith, and how do they shape Christian experience?
Right.
So all these things coming from there, very important, and linked to that, to still on that first point, is the whole issue of creativity.
Okay.
Don't forget that any school of thought, any situation you have, creativity always emerges from the margins.
Okay, yeah, wow, that's
So
an important point.
I do believe, deep within my heart, that theology is renewing itself. Christian theology is renewing itself from the margins, from those at the periphery.
Yeah.
So that's a good reason why we should.
I guess that's always been the case in the church, hasn't it? Yeah.
Always the case.
Yeah.
Always the case. So again, to go back to church history, as Ambrose would tell us, what we call Christian theology today was formed during the first 5 centuries, when this new formed, Jewish, if you want, cult around Jesus began to interact with the Greco-Roman culture of the time. That's what gave us the Christian theology today. And now that the same faith is interacting with new cultures, cultures that are not Western, so it's bound to renew itself. So that's what's happening. The second reason why we need to pay attention to post-colonial theology, because to exaggerate, but that's my faith.
To exaggerate?
Yes,
what do you mean by that?
It's going to be the pattern, the paradigm for theology everywhere.
Okay.
Because post-colonial is not just what happened when the British had the British Empire. It's not only what happened when the French had the French whatever empire, but colonialism is a reality in every society, even in micro society, even in families. When you have a center, a hegemonic center, as to use the terms they use, and then you have the periphery. So wherever a group of people or an individual, sets himself, or they set themselves as the center, the reference, the norm that controls everything else. It's a colonial situation.
Sure, okay.
It's a colonial situation. And as Christians, I do strongly believe that we need to learn from what is coming from the periphery, not to set ourselves in a colonial posture. So that we learn to read scripture in community, where we all come on par and listening to one another, listening to the other, relating to the other in a way that is biblical, that does not violate the other's integrity, the other's wholeness, humanity, and what have you. So it's a lesson for the whole church, because that's where we're moving. So, no matter where you stand on feminist theology, it's a cry for the same kind of principles. To be heard.
To listen to the voices on the margins that
Exactly.
historically have not been heard.
So that's why I say it's important.
Oh, thank you. And for those of us who are new to post-colonial theology, do you have a recommendation on where to start? I mean, are there a couple of key thinkers or core texts that you would suggest starting with?
Yeah, there are a lot of texts, but my own suggestion would be just pick a dictionary entry, just pick a journal article, because when you're doing post-colonial theology, it's in itself a new language game.
Right.
A new lingo. So to jump into more elaborate texts may be too much.
Okay, yeah, a little bit intimidating perhaps.
It could be intimidating because it's a new language, it's a new vocabulary. So you need to start with, just take a simple article or a journal entry, something simple. Whatever, because it's also a diverse discipline.
Yes.
Not everyone has the same values and the same principles. So everyone, depending on where they come from, they tend to pull the discipline in the sense.
Yeah.
No matter where they come from, but just to get the feel of where it's going, and from there you can go deeper.
Sure.
Yeah, but you need to start somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. No, that's helpful. And I'm just curious, what are some of the things that you personally are thinking about or writing about in this space at the moment?
Yes, I've been busy in French, of course, writing a book that tries to see theology as a whole. It's an introduction to theology from an evangelical perspective, from a post-colonial perspective.
Okay.
And my hope is to retire pretty soon so that I can do the major work. Because this one will be just like a prolegomena.
Okay. And laying the foundation.
Laying the foundation from a post-colonial perspective. And then I will then use my lecture notes, because I include for me, post-colonial perspective is not just a course.
Yeah.
But it colors everything I do.
Okay. Yeah.
So after that, my notes will be put together and do the triune God in post-colonial. I taught a course on the topic here at the Regent.
Okay.
The triune God in post-colony.
Wow.
And then the creation God in post-colony. The redeeming God in post-colony. The community God in post-colony. As you can understand, the community God is ecclesiology.
Yeah.
The community God in post-colony. And then the last one, if God gives me good health and would
Lord
be
willing, yes.
Yeah, God willing, and I write that one and I shut down.
Okay, that will be your magnum opus.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll look forward to that.
Not the magnum opus, but mostly the most questionable one.
Okay.
It's going to be the coming God.
The coming God.
The coming God in post-colony. It's going to be on eschatology.
Oh, wow.
But it's going to be different because, when you're doing post-colonial theology, you're challenging the meta-narrative. And I'm very uncomfortable with the narrative we have in evangelical ecclesiology or evangelical theology. My controversial statement would be to start by saying that evangelical theology is more daunting. Evangelical eschatology, not ecclesiology. Evangelical eschatology is more daunting than biblical.
Oh, really?
But
Interesting.
It's just to get us started.
Yeah. Oh, it's a provocative statement.
Yeah,
I like that.
Statement to get it. Because on the same time, I will be saying that wherever we do theology, we contextualize.
Yes.
So starting from the beginning, Augustine theology is contextual theology. Luther's theology is contextual theology. Calvin's theology is contextual theology. Wesley's theology is contextual. All theology is contextual.
So just a helpful reminder, because I think sometimes in the European school we sort of assume that is universal theology, right? And fail to recognize it is in fact contextual, as you say.
And there's a good book in post-colonial literature, which has nothing to do with theology, written by an Indian author.
Okay.
And the title is Provincializing Europe. Provincializing Europe.
Okay.
So we're not saying that what the West has done in theology or what have you is wrong.
Okay.
But just to remind the West, listen, it's very good, but it's contextual.
But it is a context,
It's a context. So take your place around the table. Don't occupy the whole space.
Sure. Okay? Fair enough, yes.
So by saying what I would be saying about eschatology is simply to remind people that even eschatology is contextual.
Sure.
So if that is a true premise, how contextualize eschatology had been in the West. What are the elements are more from the context and from Scripture itself.
Okay, yeah.
So,
that would be
God
such a
willing.
helpful contribution. Yes, God willing. I hope that you're able to produce that. That would be such an important contribution.
But, I'm looking forward to the other volumes, the triune God in post-colony, the creator God in post-colony, the community God, the redeeming God in post-colony. Right. That's going to be Christology. And the community God in post-colony, that's ecclesiology. So I'm looking forward to
that. That is a big project.
A big project.
Those are many volumes to write.
It's a lifetime. And all in French.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm more comfortable in French.
Sure.
So it's going to be faster for me.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. And I guess finally, for those of us who are studying theology in Western institutions, whether here at Regent or somewhere else, what would be your big challenge or encouragement to us?
Yeah, my big encouragement or challenge at the same time is to pay attention to what is happening in the culture at large. Don't study theology in order to hide in a cocoon, but use theology as a tool to engage culture and society. And it is true that no matter where culture goes, which direction it goes, no matter what shape it takes, there will always be bridges that God is building between the gospel and the culture. One does not choose one's culture. One finds oneself in a culture.
Right.
And the only legitimate question is, how can I be a witness, or how can I be a better witness of Christ in this culture? How can I be a better disciple of Christ in this culture? And how can I make disciples of Christ in this culture? So it's challenging. When I chat with my children, and I tell them, I'm aging because, to be honest with you, I'm very open for music. I'm a hybrid and post-colonial. I'm a hybrid. Sure. I listen to African music. I love it. I listen to jazz. I listen to classical music. So I'm very versatile. But at the same time, to this day, I'm having a hard time to see myself worshiping in rap.
Fair enough.
But there's a way to do so, even if I am unable, but there's a way to do so. And we're leaving that to my children.
Sure, leaving it to the next generation,
to the next generation.
Take that forward.
That's right.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with me and with Regent College.
It's my pleasure.
This week. It's been an honor to speak with you.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure.